All right, today we're going to talk about making the spout of a teapot. Here's some teapots we have. Here's examples. Here's one made by a guest artist. There's a spout here, and there's one made by a past student's teapot spout. One thing about spouts you really should need to know about is spouts go from wide to narrow. From wide, narrow is what they go from. And they got to angle up. If they angle straight, it's not going to work very well, and it doesn't work. So if I stuck a spout like this one, a pre-made one here, right inside of a teapot, it would just pour right out, which you don't want to have happen. So you got to kind of angle your spouts a little bit so they pour out. Now I have examples of two spouts here you can make using two different tools. The narrow one here is made using this barbecue skewer here. And this one here is made using a spout maker. And again, it really shows off the wide to narrow look, and that's how you make a good proper spout. That's how you control the water flow and everything else. I'm going to first show you how to make one using this one here, and then I'll show you how to make one using the barbecue skewer. They're both very simple and easy to use, and it gives you kind of an idea of what to make. All right, so first we're going to use this tool right here. You're going to roll out a slab of clay about a 1/4 of an inch thickness is what you want to use. You want to make sure it's big enough to wrap around your spout maker here, so you're able to make the spout. The key thing is when you wrap it around, you got to keep moving it, because if not, it will stick to this piece and you have to cut off and start over, which is not good. So you want to make sure you do that. You can't move it around. Normally you cover things with newspaper, but this, as long as you keep moving it, it should be fine. So I just take some clay, I figure out the width I need it to be, and I'm just going to take it and cut it off. So I have it like that. I begin to kind of piecemeal it together. It doesn't look really good right off the bat, so I'm going to trim some of this excess clay off when I first get started. I'm kind of pinching it on there, and then I give it a little bit of a spin so it doesn't stick. Now I can take my knife. I'm going to cut off some of that excess clay that I do not need right now. It's not going to be a perfect cut right away because, like I said, I'm going to be smoothing some of it off a little bit. And again, same thing off the top. Just kind of get rid of that excess off the top. So I have it wrapped around my piece a little bit better. Now what I do is I kind of squeeze it on there and give it a little bit of a spin and squeeze it on there is what I'm doing. Every time I squeeze, I spin and I squeeze, I spin and squeeze. That way it doesn't stick. Then I take a rubber rib tool and I'm going to blend and smooth it around. First, I'm going to go up towards the smallest spot. I'm going to go around one time. This helps kind of thin out my clay and even it up. And then I spin it. And do the same thing, the opposite direction, on this way. Again, spin it again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife. You have a fancy knife, this one. This is just my old one. And I'm going to cut it off the top again. And then I'm going to clean up the bottom half of my piece as well with the knife. Then one more time through. Again, I'm going to go down into the bottom of the piece, give it a spin, and do the same thing coming up this way. I just take it and pop it off, and there is my spout. Now, one thing I'll do to help finish this off a little bit, I'll take a little bit of clay and I'll make a small, tiny coil. I'll kind of just add it to the top of my spout here. It kind of just rounds it off, gives a nice round look to it, and I kind of blend it in there. And shape it a little bit more, so it kind of just finishes it off the spout itself. Spout maker, I can put it back on there and make sure it fits really well. I'll crush it. Like I said, you can use a finger, a wooden tool, it doesn't matter, just kind of blend this stuff on. Usually I tell people I recommend making your spout a day before and letting it stiffen up a bit. So if you try to Some of you might have to put on right away, and that happens, it happens. But if you let them sit a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier to cut and shape later, and I'll demonstrate that a little bit. That's how you make the wider spout using the spout maker. The next one I'm going to show you use is this wonderful thing called a barbecue skewer stick. Very simple, very easy to use. This time I'm going to take some clay. I'm going to roll it into a shape of a carrot, from thick to thin. So I can roll it in my hands and start rolling it out. Make sure it has that shape. And then I roll it on my table. So again, it goes from thick to thin. See, it kind of looks thick to thin already. And then I'll just cut off some of this excess off the end. I'll take my skewer. I'm going to put it in the middle here. Now, here's a critical part people mess up on. As I'm pushing the skewer in, I'm rolling my coil. And what this does, it allows me to keep keeping it as close to center as possible. If I try to hold it up and push it, I'm not going to be able to keep it in the center. By rolling and pushing at the same time allows to keep it somewhat in the middle. Close enough. Now when I have it in there, I'm then going to take it and roll it one direction. I don't roll it back and forth, just one direction. And what happens is it begins to widen up the backside of the spout and leave the front spot very narrow. So that's what you want. You want a wide to narrow spout. So again, I have that wide to narrow spout. I'll then take the end here and get rid of that excess stuff that came off there. And I'll take the back end of my barbecue skewer, kind of come in here and push down a little bit on that bottom part of that tool. Then normally these spouts, I cut them at an angle. I have a spout using the barbecue skewer. All right, now I'm using the ones I let sit for a little bit because they're a little bit stiffer. I'll show you how to attach it. We'll take this wonderful slip bottle and pretend it's the body of my teapot. If I took a spout and just stuck it straight on there, get it to properly work, I almost have to put it all the way to the top. But I want it to angle down a little bit, so it angles up. So what I do is I'll put it behind, I'm using my other camera here, put it behind the tool here, angle I want to, and then I'm going to draw a line right down the side of my piece. It gives me an idea of where I want my line to be to cut my spout. So then what I do is I'll take my knife and I'll just cut that angle down. And if you look closely, when I attach it onto it, it then has that angle I want my spout to be. It now angles up. It's very critical about that. It angles it up instead of being straight in there. And then all I do is I'll take my body, I'll cut a hole, score and slip it on, attach it. You got to cut a hole that's going to be just as wide as this piece to attach. Now it's kind of hard to see in here, but if you look inside the teapot here, you can see the hole that's in there. You need to cut a hole before you attach it. So I have my angle there. And the same thing with these. Again, same idea. Again, I'll put it this way. So you can see, I'll put it this way. You look at it first, your side, and I'm going to draw a line so I kind of know where to cut it. It tells me where I have to cut it, and then I take my knife, follow that line, cut it down. Again, score and slip it on. I have that nice angled spout I want. When the clay stiffens up a bit, at least sat for a day or so, stiffens up a bit, it makes it easier. But I can also come in here if I don't want that angle to be that way, and come in here. I can cut this off, shape it a bit more, go back in there with my stick, and get more of that pour I want to make it that angle I want to. And then I can even bend it if I want to. Like, oh, it's a little too high for me. I want to have a nice little slope. I can do that with it as well. All kinds of things you do with it. But you're better off building it, letting it sit for a day, and then working on it. A lot of kids struggle with it when they try to put it all in one day. It doesn't really work that way. And that's how you make your spout. Just remember, wide to narrow, have that angle up. Somewhere a little bit close to the middle of your teapot is where you want the spout to be. The spout top should go right where your lid's going to be. As you can see from here, this example here. It goes above where the lid is, so I can fill away the water all the way up to the lid itself. And then I gotta be able to take it and be able to pour it, or water will come out of it without the lid falling off if it goes too far. So you gotta be aware of that as well when you make your angle with your spout. And that's how it works. And don't forget about cutting a hole before you attach it. It makes it very easy as well. Think your hole should be always a little bit bigger than you think it should be. So that way water can actually pour in there. And that's how you make a spout for your teapot.